Now, I think it's universally known at this point in time that Disney has had the absolute worst year throughout all of 2023, not just because of their Disney stock hitting a decade low, but we can't forget about the fact that they have been having box office failures one after the other, and Wish, the movie Wish, is basically their only saving grace for 2023, and even that may very well be bleak at this point in time for Bob Iger's reputation and his legacy for all of this year, which was really his big return year, by the way, after really leaving and retiring temporarily, of course, once Bob Chapek took over for a couple of years. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, if there's any actress out there that really is quite insufferable, if not more, than Brie Larson or Amber Heard or other actresses in the Hollywood bubble like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, you've also got Rachel Zegler, who said what she said about Andrew Burnap, Snow White 1937, that created the entire controversy and the backlash from the public against her, which, by the way, is creating a lot of ramifications right now against her upcoming film by Lionsgate, the Hunger Games prequel, which is still set to debut by this November, and it's not looking good so far. The box office projections by Lionsgate is actually a lot lower than previously projected due to the ongoing controversy surrounding Rachel Zegler. But it gets even worse about her view of South Park Studios and Comedy Central and their efforts with the upcoming event series, or the event episode, I should say, of joining the Panderverse on October 27th. Let's discuss. Now, with Rachel Zegler currently dealing with the backlash for Snow White 2024, one major development has to do with her reaction toward both Comedy Central and South Park Studios for mocking both Hollywood and the concept of race and gender swapping. Now, a significant update coming out of this has much to do with both director Mark Webb and writer Greta Gerwig as well. Mark Webb went on to deliver the following. I would be lying if we didn't notice any kind of a negative response toward our decision of choosing an actress with a different ethnic background to portray Snow White. I talked this over with Rachel, and we eventually landed on the conversation about what terrible things Comedy Central is encouraging to the general public. Let me just simply say both I and Rachel are enraged of the lack of morality coming from Comedy Central and what they are creating a parody on with their new controversial episode that is so unnecessary that it will only create more conflict among common moviegoers. I had the honor to have a long phone call with Rachel about the fan response, and she is absolutely disgusted over what South Park is doing by poking fun at what we feel is the right thing to do to create equality within the film industry. When you are a director and working with a fine actress like Miss Zegler, you feel the need to reassure their role and place in this world, and I think she is easily the best Snow White that we had available at the time. I had deep conversations with Miss Zegler, and once all the conflict ends with SAG, I can confirm that she is fully prepared to call out and make this public by some of these studios with their attempts of having no morality in mind, pointing fingers at creative minds that are just pure and innocent. Now guys, let me just say one thing about Mark Webb. Now this guy is getting very protective and defensive over Rachel Zegler, and if you guys have no clue who Mark Webb is, like I said before, he is the director of this Snow White movie, but not just that, he had a couple of movies that are well known. He's pretty much the creator of Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and most notably 500 Days of Summer. That's like his movie, that's his baby, right? 500 Days of Summer, that's all Mark Webb that is really known for at this point, apart from the atrocity of Snow White. But looking at everything about what's going on with Rachel Zegler's perspective of Comedy Central and how they view it as a lack of morality, all because they're embracing parody of all the woke nonsense that Hollywood has been spewing out, I would say since 2016 is when it really started to erupt. I think that pre-2016, we were still kind of embedded in that normal era where there was a lot of normalcy involved with movies. You know, sure, it might have been blossoming in 2015, but really before 2016, before Ghostbusters, you know, really released in theaters, I think that for the most part, we were getting the movies that we really enjoyed for about 80% of the time. Now, when you look at stuff like this, we know that Rachel Zegler absolutely hates critics. She absolutely hates anybody standing against Snow White 2024. And like I say, this is something that is causing Disney to get very desperate. This is why they are dropping a lot of her restrictions. She is now already allowed to attend the world premiere for Snow White again. And she's also allowed to do more press interviews because of their competition now with the Daily Wire and their version of Snow White called Snow White and the Evil Queen, starring Brett Cooper. But let's move on, shall we? Now, on top of that, apart from what Mark Webb had to actually say here, Greta Gerwig, the writer of Snow White, also once again chimed in by delivering the following. As a writer and a creator of the story of this film and getting the chance to work with Disney, Zegler does not deserve any of the criticism that she is getting, and quite frankly, it is childish behavior, both from the general public and from the creators of South Park that are obviously taking jabs at Disney's vision of promoting equality. Rachel was offended deeply by this, and so was I. All I can say is we have a revolutionary film on our hands. I had the pleasure to create Barbie, which was a big success for me, and I am eternally grateful, and I am going to do it again with Snow White. Again, from that, of course, what both Greta and Mark Webb are putting out here, guys, by the way, it just goes to show you that they are completely detached from reality. Apart from that, though, from what Greta and Mark delivered here, one crucial development is that Rachel is also planning to call out Comedy Central and the Daily Wire on late-night television, as Disney is beginning to get desperate now by allowing Rachel to go back on the Jimmy Kimmel Show after she was initially banished from that, appearing on that show in particular after her terrible comments about Snow White 37 and Andrew Burnap. And if you guys know nothing about Jimmy Kimmel, he is a Disney hire. He is ABC. And we all know who owns ABC. Disney. Now, this is why I add Jimmy Kimmel to the insufferable list. I'm not a fan of the guy. In fact, I don't find the guy all that, appealing to me personally. And his late night show, it really doesn't focus so much on the jokes anymore. It's all driven in real world nonsense that he just keeps on spewing out. That's why he's on my insufferable list. When you look at stuff like this, we have a lot of things happening with Rachel Zegler. She was initially banished from the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Now she's back because Disney's getting very desperate about the Daily Wire and Comedy Central really posing as a great threat against the Snow White remake's success in March of 2024. And look at what happened with the Hunger Games alone. All of the Rachel Zegler controversy, all of the criticism that she has been getting, it's impacting the box office projections for that movie by Lionsgate. And this is exactly why we talked about this weeks ago. This is why Lionsgate blacklisted her and dropped her from other numerous roles. They want nothing to do with Rachel Zegler anymore, nor does Warner Brothers, mind you, where she was a part of the box office flop of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. If this becomes another failure, that'll be the 4th box office fail. So anyway, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.